Welcome back to Real Talk with Brian and Dan on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm Brian.
And I'm Dan.
Our next guest is Emma Potter of Rowboat Wood, who will be sharing with us how, as a stay-at-home mom, she rediscovered her creativity with power tools and how she now runs her own business from her garage. Emma always had a creative wave flowing through her since she was a kid. Growing up on a 100-acre farm in Ontario, Canada, Emma could easily disappear into nature to play and create. Her favorite spot by far was in the creek, where she would dig her toes into the clay, catch minnows, and float in her rowboat for hours on end. While in her boat, Emma found solitude, peace, and inspiration for many of her creations. As the years trickled by, Emma found her life drifting further from the creative and anchoring more around her family. After some encouragement from friends and family, Emma finally decided to dive back in. Working with wood, she has made areas of her life feel complete and easy. At times while in her workshop, Emma recaptures the feeling of freedom as she did in her boat. Emma is truly inspired when in nature and loves the versatility and variety that wood offers. Experimenting with the combination of layered colored strains, and raw natural wood really allows each piece to tell its own story and sing its own song. Welcome to the show, Emma.
Thank you.
What a great story.
Yeah, no
It's
kidding.
like I felt like I was on that little creek
On
in
the
a
boat.
rowboat.
Good,
Yeah.
That's
good.
awesome.
So, what are your hobbies?
Well, actually, my hobby has kind of turned into my business.
Mhm.
I really like making things, and right now, wood is the cool thing to make since I'm in my shop all the time. So that's my hobby. I don't really have a lot of time for other hobbies. I like being in the woods. I'm a nature girl.
Well, there you go.
So this rowboat, which because we ask everybody about a fond memory of the home they grew up in,
Yes.
but your story tells a story about where you grew up.
Yeah, pretty much. I was 100-acre farm in the boonies. Like, there's no other people living there, so I was my own best friend.
What did your family farm?
We didn't farm anything. We rented it out to other people, so we weren't actually farmers. We just lived on a farm, which is the best kind of
kind.
thing.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to
wake
get
and
up and milk the cows.
Exactly. So
Wow, that's
I liked being in nature and
Yeah.
imagining and being on my tiny little boat in the creek.
Have you always been creative?
I have. I've always kind of tinkered with things. I did a lot of sewing when I was younger, sewed my own clothes to my father's disgust, and wore them to school. I remember making like some pants out of an old pair of curtains.
And you had the courage to wear them to school.
That's right. I
That's
was
awesome.
that girl. I was
Nice.
that girl.
Nice.
Yeah, so always made things. Always made things.
So as I think about this, I want to tie back to the rowboat story and your name.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what
Rowboat art.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rowboat wood. Basically, I guess I wanted to recapture that feeling when I was younger in that boat. It was like my happy place.
Mhm.
And when you grow up and you have responsibilities and a family, and sometimes you don't have that
Simplicity,
anymore.
that
Yeah,
kind of
that
stuff, yeah.
connection to what you loved and what was so true and simple. And when I'm out in my shop, I really recapture that feeling, which is kind of magical. So
So my grandfather worked with wood. My uncle worked with wood. I've never picked it up, but I have spent time with a good friend of mine who, Nick Pringle, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Who
Very creative.
he's very creative, and I used to make fun of him because he quilted and all that stuff. But that whole creative mind and stuff like that is something that I have it in a different way.
right.
So as you gravitated towards wood, what was the pull? Why wood? Or is
So
that just for now?
I mean, I don't know. You never know if it's for now or for later. I've always liked doing something. I get that satisfaction from creating something beautiful, and my husband's actually made a few pieces of furniture in our home. So he was kind of like my Obi-Wan Kenobi, like showing me the way with the power tools, because I'd never used any power tools. And I just kind of fell in love with wood. I mean, it's so many different kinds, and the smells and the textures, and when you stain them, they all look different and react
Can you describe
differently.
what your finished products look like?
So it's wood wall art. So it's kind of like a geometric pattern. I cut strips that are like 1.5 inches wide, and then I create a geometric pattern with those different colors, woods, different stains that I create, and comes out looking pretty cool.
What's your favorite power tool?
I think the miter saw. I mean, just like cutting things, you just feel hardcore. It's like, rah, rah. Also, the fact that it could cut your finger off.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It's
Yeah.
scary and exciting.
That's funny.
exhilarating.
Yes.
So, what artists inspire you?
I'd have to say probably like the first artist that inspired me was Keith Haring, which I'm actually wearing Keith Haring shirt today.
Check it on YouTube.
Yeah, hello. He's a graffiti artist from the 80s in New York. He got really famous, but it was one of my first exhibits that I saw in the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco that I just really was blown away by. And I happened to take I think he was 6-year-old son at the time. And some of it's pretty graphic, and I didn't know that. So we talked about how art is amazing art if it creates an emotion in you, if it's like, even if he was scared or disturbed or kind of grossed out, I'm like, that's powerful because that picture made you have that emotion. So I like to equate art with emotions.
Yeah, it's kind of a visual representation of something.
Right.
It's not just a logical representation.
Right. That takes you somewhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you decided then to start your own business.
Mm-hmm.
How did that work out?
I guess I had a couple friends that have seen things that I've done. Like when my daughter was born, I made like a mobile for her room and other things. And they're like, "You're really creative." And I'm like, yeah, I've always known I was creative. But they really kind of gave me that push to be like, you can do this. You can have this as a career. And it just really, really helped me take that extra step. You know, everyone's afraid of failure.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want something that was so important to me for me to fail at it.
So
So
people reject it?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I've always tried in other things that weren't as important, but this was pretty near and dear to my heart. So doing it and failing was scary. But so far it's been really successful. So it makes me pretty happy.
So, what's your favorite part of doing what you do?
I think just zoning out in the garage and listening to music and just being on my own. You know, raising a family is busy and you don't get a lot of that time for yourself. So I love listening to music, and all my pieces are named after a musical artist that I happen to be listening to at the time.
Yeah,
So that's pretty inspiring.
Describe a couple of your pieces.
Well, one of my first ones is called Vedder. It's for Eddie Vedder.
Pearl Jam? Yeah.
Yeah, I love him. Who else do I have? I have Prince. I have. Do you guys ever listen to Lizzo?
Yes, I know who Lizzo is.
Yes, there's one named after her.
David should know.
There you go.
She's pretty
Put David on the
powerful woman, which
Yeah.
I admire. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, but just being out there.
So tell me about your transition from stay-at-home mom to artist.
Yeah, that's tough. You know, everybody has expectations of me in the house, and which has been totally fine in the past. But now that I'm finding something for me, you know, you hear that so often, but it's so true because you do sometimes lose yourself
No, yeah.
in the role of mother. It's an amazing role, but you do lose yourself sometimes. So
And I think doing something like this is taking care of you so you can
Mhm.
take care of them.
it's true. It's true. Happy mom,
Yeah,
happy wife, happy life.
That's
It's-
right.
It's
Yep,
true.
gotta remember that one.
that's right.
Yes.
So, why would someone buy one of your pieces over? I mean, I hate parts of this question, but over Target or
Yeah.
mass-produced stuff.
Right.
What's unique? What's
You know, sometimes you walk into Target and nothing speaks to you,
Yeah.
and everybody has their own unique style, and for everyone to have the same piece of art that you find for $20, that it's just doesn't. I feel it doesn't speak to you, and you want your home to be, a representation of your own style. Also, you're supporting a local business. Each piece is different. Even though I try to make some pieces the same, I just can't because
Yeah.
it's so fun to make new things. And wood goes with everything. It's kind of like denim.
yeah?
It's going to go in everybody's decor, and I can tailor it to your style and color palette.
Where can people see your work?
So my website is www.rowboatwood.com. I'm also having I'm going to be in a show coming up
Ah.
March 25th and 6th called Raw Artists.
Yeah.
And that's in Seattle. So you could find me there. Also on Instagram, Facebook.
How big are your pieces typically?
My smallest are 2 foot by 4 foot,
Okay.
and I have made a 8 foot by 4 foot.
So they're pretty good size.
Pretty good size, yeah.
Oh, hey, some good
I've got
pictures.
a
David
photo.
pulled up
Oh,
on
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and also, I made a 3-piece too, that if you want to break it up or have different pieces coordinating on different walls, you can do that too. It can fit any.
Can
Any
people
space.
commission you to do custom pieces for them?
Oh yeah, that's actually all I've done so far.
Oh,
is-
you've done- oh,
is
okay.
Custom pieces.
Yeah.
For this show, I'm cranking out my own designs.
Yeah.
And see what people are gravitating towards.
So if there are some aspiring stay-at-home artists out there
Mhm.
that want to monetize their passion like this,
Right.
what steps would you encourage them to take?
First of all, I would just, it sounds cheesy, but believe in yourself. I mean, the confidence to step outside your comfort zone was the toughest part for me. And then I guess, have your friends buy your stuff. That always helps.
Buy her chairs.
Yep, yep.
I had a friend make my website. Really lean on your friends and family because they want you to be successful and
Yeah.
happy.
So like I think of sites like Wayfair. That's not a right one. Etsy? Is it Etsy?
Yeah, Etsy.
Etsy.
Okay,
yeah.
so where you can create an account, put
Mhm.
some samples in there. So right now, all your business is word of mouth. Is that right?
Mhm, yeah.
So essentially, a friend of a friend, and then you have this show coming up.
Mhm.
So you don't sell anything through Etsy or anything like that now.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. It's mostly been word of mouth or people that have seen things on Instagram or Facebook.
So you would say Instagram or Facebook are kind of your major marketing tools
Yes.
of what you're working on, and then people reach out to you and say, "Ooh, that's great. I'd like to do something like that."
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
cool.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
and so right now they're going to your website, right? Which is
www.rowboatwood.com.
all right.
Well, thank you for coming on the show today, Emma.
Yeah. Thanks for
It's
having me.
been fun chatting with you about that. Remember that all of our segments are available to watch on our YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more about any of our guests, please subscribe. Join us after the break for some final thoughts and something fun to do.